Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Hornet Talk podcast match previews. On tonight's episode, we are previewing our game against Derby County. I'm delighted to say we're joined by Chris from Rams Talk podcast. Now, before I introduce Chris, a very good evening to my co-host. So, starting with George, very good evening to George. How are you?
Evening, Liam. I'm doing good. I'm quite nervous about this game on the coming Saturday, as obviously the Rams are doing quite well away this season, which we will discuss later.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough match. Good evening, Caden. How are you?
Good evening, Liam. It's good to be back. Yeah, not too bad. How about yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. I've been on holiday this week, so I've had a good week. Played a lot of golf, but yeah. Anyway, moving on, a very warm welcome to our guest this week from the Rams Talk podcast. Good evening, Chris. How are you?
Liam, very nice to meet you. Nice to meet the rest of the gang. I'm good. Another busy week, but yeah, it's nice to join you with the Rams somehow being in sixth place in the league. Don't ask me how we're there, but I'm sure we'll get into that. But yeah, nosebleed territory for us. But yeah, big one on Saturday. I'm looking forward to it. Should be an interesting match.
Yeah. Now, before we move into our episode, just on a whole, obviously, we like to promote your podcast and whatnot. So tell us a bit about Rams Talk and where our listeners can find you.
Yeah, I mean, you'll find us on all the major streaming platforms. Rams Talk Podcast. It's been going for a few years now. It's quite a big group of Derby supporters. There's a few guys that are the main bedrock of the pod. We have a show that goes out every Sunday night, which is often live on YouTube. And then depending whether we've got a midweek game or not, sometimes we squeeze a midweek one in. And then we have a wider community of which I'm part of as well, that, chip in and appear on the podcast from time to time. And, like all the other podcasters out there, we have a group chat, which obviously, sometimes gets a bit lively, shall we say, every time there's a bit of news related to the club. So that's us. So I suspect none of your listeners will be interested in listening to a Derby podcast, but maybe after the game on Sunday, check us out. So that's where we are.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. Our group chat definitely gets lively at times, especially when there's Watford news. Anyway, moving into the main part of the episode. Now, just starting to ask you a couple of questions, obviously. Chris, second best away form in the league with 27 points, just 1 point behind Middlesbrough. How tough do you think it'll be to, win at Vicarage Road, given our home form? Obviously, it's dropped off a little bit, but how hard do you think it'll be?
I think this will be a difficult one for both sides, actually. I mean, yeah, you're right. Our away form is incredibly good, which is surprising, really, given in previous seasons it's been absolutely diabolical, and it's been our home form that's kind of saved us. But the way John Eustace has set us up since he came here almost a year ago, it was a year ago this week, actually, we are set up to be an away team. And as you probably saw, I don't know whether any of you guys came to the reverse fixture back at Pride Park in the autumn. You probably were there. We are set up to play in an away type formation, whether we're at home or away. That's the sort of team we are, and I'm sure we'll get into the specifics of that in a minute. But yeah, it's interesting. I think had we been at home for this one, I think you would have started probably the favourites, because our home form was up until the weekend about the fourth worst in the division. But away from home, that really fits into how Eustace wants us to play. So we'll go there, I think, feeling reasonably confident. I mean, in our last 6 games, we've taken 13 points. So we're on a bit of a good run at the moment. And the only points we've dropped were home to West Brom with a last-minute equaliser, and we should have won that. And the other one was against Ipswich, which is probably no disgrace. But again, we could have got something out of that as well. So we're in pretty good form. And like I say, we like playing away from home. So I could see this being quite a tight one. I wouldn't like to call it, but I think it'll be a tight one.
Yeah, I do think you're a very good side. I mean, no offense to you, but I didn't see Derby in the playoff spots at this stage of the season. I like Derby. I think they're a good side, but yeah, I honestly didn't see Derby in the playoff, given how challenging this league is and how many quality teams there are. Now, yeah, I was just about to ask about, obviously, your manager. Obviously, played for Watford, John Eustace. I think he's been very good for you, and obviously had that stint at Blackburn Rovers before joining you. How crucial do you think he's been, and have you liked him at his time as Derby County manager?
Yeah, it's interesting. There were some grumblings about him in the fan base, not the entire fan base, I'd add, but some grumblings about him earlier in the season. Actually, just before we played you guys, actually, we went on a bit of a run, but prior to that, we got a bit of a stuttering start, and there was one or two bits of dissension coming out of some corners of the Derby community, but not all. But generally speaking, he was really welcomed when he joined us a year ago. We'd sacked Paul Warne, who was probably going to take us down to League One again. Eustace came in, got an ex-player, and he kind of just doubled down with his kind of defensive, no risk taking type of football. And he kind of realized last season that if we were going to get out of the mess we were in, we were bottom when he took over. He was going to have to really grind it out and just play the defensive game. And yeah, so he's got a lot of credit in the bank for keeping us up. We stayed up on the last day of the season. So we survived by the skin of our teeth. And so this season he's kind of come in with a lot of goodwill behind him. And like I say, we got off to a bit of a stuttering start. We kind of signed quite a few players in the summer. Typical Derby fashion, we always tend to sign players who are injured. And we had a lot of injuries anyway, so we didn't really get going till the autumn. And when we played you guys, we were on the back of a 5-win kind of streak. You ended that, unfortunately, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But since then, yeah, he's kind of been riding a bit of a wave, and like you guys kind of said earlier on, I don't think even we believe would be in the top 6, let alone supporters of other clubs. So right now, I think people are kind of fully behind him. Probably the one thing that people do grumble about with Eustace is, and you'll see on Saturday, our style of football, our quality of football is not aesthetically the best. We do like to kind of defend and score from set pieces. And I think there's a view that, especially at home, that we need to be a little bit more expansive with our football, a little bit more risk taking, and haven't quite sorted that out yet. And so the kind of grumbles that I mentioned were coming from the regular kind of homegoing supporter, because obviously that's where you get most of your fans. The away fans are having a great time. They're seeing us win on the road all the time. So I think that's probably the one area where people want to see a bit of an improvement. But right now, with the strength of the squad we've got, people are quite happy with him. And personally, I'm fully behind him. So let's see where we are at the end of the season, though. But it's easy to say that after a couple of wins, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, when we played you in the 3-2 victory, I think that was our first away win since February, I want to say, when we played Middlesbrough, which was a real shock to us all, because especially being 2-0 down, we thought, oh, well, you've comfortably won this game now. I couldn't see us coming back. But, luck happens. Now, obviously, this links into my next question. Carlton Morris, he got injured in the reverse fixture against us. And if I'm right in saying, I don't think he's played since, has he?
Yes, it was your centre half, Pollock, isn't it? Who just absolutely whacked him off the ball. And it was quite, and then it was like, oh my God, what's happened here? He was on a hot streak. He was top scorer in the league when we played you. And yeah, he has not played since. He actually came back. He's a little bit ahead of schedule, actually. We weren't expecting him probably till the end of the month, but he came back on Saturday against Swansea. And I don't think Eustace was intending to bring him on, but we were 2-0 up and comfortable. So he literally got about 3 or 4 minutes. So on Saturday, he won't start. That's for sure. He will almost certainly be on the bench. So, it's all about minutes management with him at the moment. He might get 15, 20 minutes. Look, if we're losing, which we could be, then he might get a little bit longer. But don't expect him to play a massive role. Probably will be early March by the time he really starts pushing for a place in the side again. And we've just about managed without him. But yeah, he was a big miss at the time when he got injured against you guys.
Yeah, I was. Now, just moving on, obviously, because a lot of fans thought that Carlton Morris was going to be a big hammer blow for you out of the side. But a player that's started a rich vein of scoring, and that is the USA striker, Patrick Agyemang. How big of a boost has he been for you since Carlton Morris's injury? And do you think Carlton Morris will struggle to get back in the side given Adjaman's recent scoring form?
Well, yeah, a couple of things there. I mean, we bought Adjaman for £5 million, going up to 7 with add-ons in the summer. For Derby to spend that sort of money on a player, I mean, we've not spent that much money on a player in a long, long time. Obviously, we've been in administration, so we've had to live within our means. So we took a massive risk when we signed this guy. And, he struggled to find his feet a little bit, which is, you'd understand that. He's come across from America, never probably lived away from home before, got to get used to the physicality of the league. I mean, you know how rough the championship can be, especially for a striker. Adjaman's best position is actually on the left. We play a 4-2-3-1 type formation. So his best slot is on that left-hand side with Morris through the middle as your old-fashioned number 9 centre forward. So when Morris gets fit, Adjaman will just slot one over and go slightly to the left. And then we'll either drop Ben Brereton Diaz, who is almost undroppable because he's one of Eustace's favourites, ex-Blackburn, like half our side. Or he'll drop Rhian Brewster, who's been playing on that left-hand side. But Brewster's not really, you'll see on Saturday, he'll start on the left, but he ends up coming inside all the time. So they'll actually play together. And Adjaman's talked a lot about Carlton Morris, how he's helped him with the physical side of the game, kind of coached him through those kind of early months. So they'll be deadly when they're back together, because obviously both of them are good in the air. And that is our modus operandi. It's all about getting crosses into the box and one of those two getting on the end of it. So Adjaman against yourselves will start through the middle as the number 9 until Morris comes on, and then he'll shift over.
Yeah, I believe he's a real aerial threat, isn't he? Because I was looking at his stats, and I think 5 out of his 10 goals came from headers. Do you think he's more of an aerial threat than a finisher?
He's got a bit of both. I mean, when you look at him, his first touch is pretty abysmal, but it is improving. And he's such a tall guy. It takes, normally 1 or 2 times in a game, it takes about 4 or 5 minutes, I think, for the signal to get from his brain down to his feet. So he'll be running along with the ball, and then he'll realize, hang on, where's the ball gone? And it's been left behind. So that kind of playing on the deck is getting better. But he's such a handful, and he's quick, and he's dead quick. So for any defender, whether it's in the air or on the ground, he causes trouble. What we tend to do is, and this will be where we'll go for it at the weekend, is that our right back is a chap called Joe Ward. If you look on the stats, he's, for a right back / right wing back, he's probably got, I think it's about the third, or did have the 3rd highest assist stats in the league. So what normally happens is Ward will get it on the right, and then he'll sling the ball into the back post, and then he'll come in and get a header. And we've scored so many goals like that this season. But he can finish on the deck, so scraps and things in the penalty box. He can get on the end of it. So I think we're kind of taking the view that we'll enjoy him while we can, because I think he's probably one of 2 players that when we get to, and you guys know what it's like. Any player that does well for you, suddenly the bigger boys will come in, and I think he's probably one of 2 players where it's likely we'll end up cashing in on him in the end of the season if he carries on like this. And he's now up to 10, I think, 10 goals, which is level with Morris. So, he's really, really improving. So he'll be a handful for your defence.
Yeah, thank you for that. Now, I know my co-hosts have a couple of questions for you, so I'll hand over to George first.
Thank you. So, obviously, considering Derby County do have the 2nd highest away form in the EFL Championship, how tight do you think this game will be at Vicarage Road on Saturday? Yeah,
good question, George. I wouldn't even need a crystal ball to tell you how the pattern of the game is going to go. What's going to happen is that we will get everyone behind the ball. We even do this at home, so away from home, we'll certainly do it. We'll get everyone behind the ball. You guys will have about 70 to 75% of the possession. The stats show that if we have over 50% possession, we lose. So we will just give you the ball because we don't want it. We'll play with a low block, and then we'll get you to try and break us down, and then we'll try and hit you on the counter attack or with a set piece. So I think if we can survive the first 20 minutes, half an hour, where you'll just have the ball and you'll have us pinned back, then I think we'll get into the game. So, I could see us maybe nicking a goal from a set piece or something like that. So I think it'll be quite a tight one. And you only have to look at the league. I mean, you mentioned we're sixth, but I think it's something ridiculous. Like there's only 6 points between us in sixth and the team in 15th, I think 15th, 16th. It's ridiculous. How tight it is in there. So, one win or one defeat, and suddenly you go flying down one end of the table or back up again. So it's almost impossible to predict who's going to go up in the playoff slots, let alone the automatics. So, I think it'll be a very tight game. I think two very evenly matched sides, given where we both are in the league. I mean, we're both kind of neck and neck, really, aren't we?
Yeah. And apart from Patrick Adjaman, who's the one player that we need to watch out for?
Well, yeah, we don't have too many players where it's like, oh my goodness me, he's a real threat. I mean, we have kind of shared the goals out around a lot. I mean, we've signed probably a person to keep your eye on. We've signed Sammy Smodics in the January transfer window. We had a very good transfer window this time around. Smodics came in. I mean, look, you don't sign Sammy Smodics to put him on the bench. So he will start almost certainly. He started against Swansea. He kind of plays in the number 10 role for us in that game. So he'll probably be just behind Adjaman. If he replicates the form that he had at Blackburn the season before last, where he was the top goal scorer in the league, wasn't he? Was it season before last? I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2024 season.
Yeah, so thank you. So, he's certainly going to be someone to keep an eye on. He didn't look particularly fit in his first game because he's not played an awful lot of football. So Smodics is probably one to keep an eye on. I mean, if I could just name one other, we've got a guy on loan from Crystal Palace in midfield, David Ozo. I don't think he played against you. I think he was injured the week before against Blackburn. He's a fantastic player, really highly thought of. His body's a little bit made of glass because he's had a lot of injuries, but when he does play, he's the one player in our team that will get the ball down and play. So anything that we do in terms of trying to play through the midfield, it will come from Ozo. And it's just unfortunate he's not our player. He's going to go back to Palace at the end of the season. But yeah, he's very highly thought of. So keep an eye on Ozo as well as Smodics would be my advice.
All right, thank you for that. And I'll pass over to Caden in case he has any questions for you.
Yeah, hi Chris. Just one from me. Just picking apart one of your January signings. How influential is Oscar Fraiolo to the Derby side? From what I saw of him in the Bundesliga, he was really, really impressive. But how has he been since he signed for the Rams?
Yeah, glad you picked up on that. Okay, no, yeah, we signed him. He can kind of play two positions. And we're not sure what his best position is yet. He can play as a 10. If you play 4-2-3-1, he can play as a 10. But I think we signed him as a long-term kind of deep holding midfield player. He made his debut for us against Leeds in the FA Cup. And understandably, against that level of opposition, he didn't really get in the game, lasted about 45 minutes and probably thought, my goodness, what's this league all about? He's then come and made a couple of cameo appearances for us from the bench and looked really, really good, really composed. And we're thinking, yeah, this guy looks the business. So he then started against Swansea at the weekend because Lewis Travis, who's our captain, ex-Blackburn again, there's a trend here, got sent off in the previous match. Ipswich wound him up, got sent off, so he was suspended. And so Fraulo started. But yeah, he just could not get in the game, which was it was disappointing in a way, but he's a young guy learning his craft. And I think we're going to be quite patient with him in the way we have been with Adjaman, in the sense that it's going to take him probably, half a season to really find his feet. But I think by the time we get to the end of the season, probably for next season, he's probably going to be our first choice centre midfield player alongside Travis. As I said, Ozo will go back. So yeah, he's highly thought of. So I would expect he won't start on the weekend because Travis is back from suspension and Travis always starts. He's the captain for Eustace. But I would expect him to come off the bench and he'll certainly come on in the second half, probably for Ozo because we're managing his minutes because of his injury record.
That's all for me. I'll hand you back to Liam.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Caden. Now, before we move on to our predicted lineup segments, just a quick question for George and Caden. Now, Caden, do you think Kwadwo Bar has to start given his impact off the bench against Preston?
Yeah, very, very simple answer. Yes, Bar does have to start on Saturday. I think he's a nightmare, especially when he's one-on-one. He is a nightmare, and many opposition fans always hate to play against Barr because he is that nightmare. And I want to see that. I don't want to see Tom Ince. I don't want to see many other players. I just want to see Barr playing on the right side, getting one-on-one and being that nightmare that he is.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, I think he went off injured in the match against you last time and then he came back from injury. I think when I was in the away end, it sort of looked like he got fouled and then he started rolling over a bit and that made him injure himself. But I can't quite remember.
No, you are right. That was early in the game as well, I think, if I remember. It was dead early, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I remember that. Because we played you this season before at Pride Park. I think you won 2-0 and I can seem to remember him ripping us apart in that game. We were quite worried. And I remember saying at the time to my daughter, I said, "Oh, that's a result. He's going off." So that's not great news if he's back then. So I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, he's only just come back from injury recently, but then he didn't have the minutes under Gracia. But now that Edward Still's come in, I think he came on at half time and he played really, really well against Preston. So I think he has to start. Now, George, a player that came on late on in the game against Preston, returning after 1 year from a cardiac arrest, and that is Eduardo Bove. Chris, you might have heard of him. It's a big signing for us. George, do you think it's a risk starting him on Saturday, or would you play him from the off?
Well, I think that it would be a very big risk if we do start him on Saturday, because obviously his last game being on the 4th of December 2024. So that's 1.5 years thereabouts since the last time he started a game. Yes, he must have been doing a ton of rehabilitation, but still, I don't think he would have that match sharpness to play a full 45 minutes. Yes, we did see him for about 10 minutes on Saturday, and he did look good. I'll give that to him, but I still think that he shouldn't be starting from the first minute. I think that he should be coming on maybe the 70th minute, maybe at a push of 60th, because we need to gradually increase his minutes. And I say maybe by the time Stoke away on the 14th of March next month, I say that's when we need to start discussing whether we do need to start him or not.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's a risk, definitely, if we start him from the off, because obviously only playing a few minutes against Preston. I was really happy for him. I saw the emotional scenes at the end of the game where he was crying and he got an applause from the dressing room, so that was nice. But yeah, I think it's a risk. I think I agree with you, George, 20 minutes at most. Now, moving on to our final segment of the episode, and that is predicted lineups and tactical setup. Now, Chris, I think you mentioned that you play sort of a 4-2-3-1, if that's correct. In terms of lineup, who do you think will start for you at the weekend, and who do you think will be the most influential? I know we touched upon players like Adjiman.
Yeah. I mean, there are some uncertainties actually for the weekend. One player which we don't know whether will start is actually our goalkeeper, which is Jakob Vidal Zetterström. Very highly thought of, fantastic goalkeeper. Good shot stopper, excellent on crosses. He has missed the last couple of games due to illness. Now, we don't exactly know what's wrong with him. We've been told it's a virus. There are rumours circulating it could be something more serious than that. I've not heard any news to suggest whether he's going to start this weekend or not. It's been a big loss. And he's the other player where the vultures are circling in the summer to potentially sign him. So, assuming he is still out, and we hope he's going to be back, it'll be Josh Vickers in goal. Good shot stopper, but his weakness is on crosses. So I would suspect your technical coaches at Watford will be looking at that because he doesn't like coming out for crosses. So he will probably start, and then Zetterström is back. It'll be a back four. If it's the same as Swansea, it'll be Joe Ward, who I mentioned, right back, who's very, very good with crosses, but you can get in defensively. He was the guy that gave the penalty away. I think it was Kayembe, that he chopped down in the last minute for the penalty. So Ward will start at right back. It'll probably be Callum Elder at left back, who's a very steady Eddie. The two centre halves will be Matt Clark and probably Dion Sanderson. That's his preferred partnership. We're missing our best centre half in Sondre Langas as well, so that's the other loss. So probably be those two starting centre halves. I mentioned it'll be Travis Onozo in midfield. He'll be very workmanlike. It'll probably be as I mentioned, Sammy Smodics as a number 10. Right wing will be Brereton Diaz. You just don't know what you're going to get from Brereton Diaz from one week to the next. He'll either be fantastic or he'll be terrible. He was terrible for the first half of the season, hit form recently, but who knows what you're going to get on at the weekend. Brewster will probably be to the left, and then Aguiman up top. And like I say, it'll be a 4-2-3-1. We'll sit back, we'll defend for our lives, and then any set piece is where we're going to try and score. Both goals against Swansea last Saturday when we won 2-0 were from set pieces, identical corners, both goals. So that's what we'll go for. You won't see us playing lots of pretty passes. We'll let you guys do that.
Yeah, thanks for that. Now, just touching upon a player that you mentioned, Langas, before I hand over to George and Kane for their predicted lineups, I think if I'm right in saying he scored against us from a set piece in
the
reverse fixture. How big of a blow is he for you? Was he crucial for you in that defence, do you think?
Yeah, he's probably our best defender on the ball. So if we do have desires to try and build it up from the back, and I think that's where we will go, by the way. We're not going to stay playing this way forever. When we do start to change our style, he's kind of crucial to that. We signed him just over a year ago. He then had a bad knee injury, but played pretty much on one leg for the rest of the season, had an operation, missed the first start of the season, came back, was excellent, really, really good. He's quick as well. There's not a lot of pace in our back four. He's quick. And he's proper old school. He likes a bit of, rough and tumble with the centre forward. I wouldn't mess with Big Sondre, kind of old school in that matter. So yeah, he has been a loss. But we signed Dion Sanderson on loan from Birmingham, again, ex-John Eustace type player. And we signed him for proper in the January transfer window for about 300,000. He's played really well. He's deputised well. And Matt Clark is another that we signed just over a year ago. He's been around the block 1,000 times. Again, no nonsense, old school defender. So, likes the muck and nettles. He'll get his head on everything. He's got less hair than I have, if you can believe that. So you won't miss him on the pitch. So yeah, he's been a loss, but we've kind of coped. We've got a lot of centre halves. That's the one thing we've got. We're very well endowed with is centre halves.
Yeah, I think we're quite similar, to be fair. We've got, I think, 3 loanee centre-backs and 2 of our actual. So I think most of the defence on Saturday, apart from Pollock, was loanees, which is quite a surprise to see. But
really, yeah. But that's the problem with teams, isn't it? I mean, you're going to be in the same boat as us in the summer. Most of our best players are loanees, so you're going to lose them, and then you have to start all over again, isn't it? And that's the challenge for all Championship teams, I'm afraid.
I mean, given our quality in attack, we might look to sell some of the players if we don't go up, like Loser and Mama. Yeah. So maybe that's a good investment to get in the defensive positions. But then again, we have to replace them, so it's quite hard to pick them out, I suppose, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. How's Loser been doing for you?
Recently, he's dropped off in form. I mean, he got an assist at the weekend for Mama, and I think Loser and Mama work well together, probably both because they've got the Moroccan connection. Yeah. But he has dropped off recently, I'd say. Not yesterday, on Saturday against Preston, that was his best game in a while. I do think.
Yeah.
But I do think if he finds his form, he will be really, really influential and could see us maybe getting that final playoff spot. I know we're both challenging, and a win would be absolutely crucial for us this weekend, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, I think the ridiculous thing is, as you can see from the league, there's probably about 12 teams that can get into that playoff spot. And I don't know about you, I'm not convinced about the sides above us either. I mean, how Millwall and Preston are where they are is beyond me. How Hull are where they are. I mean, given they nearly went down with us last season, Preston were down there last season. So I think there's a lot of changes that can happen. And we've still got, 14 games to go, something like that, ridiculous amount of games. So I think there's a lot of change yet that could happen. I think more than one team could get into that playoff spot. I think quite a few could,
Yeah, I think it's tough. Like, I think we played really well against Hull, but then Millwall, when they came to the Vic, they completely outclassed us. We were absolutely dreadful that day.
Did they
They
really?
were really incredible.
Yeah, I don't know. I've a number of people said they've been really impressed with Millwall. Yet when we played them, I think we caught them when they just had a lot of injuries. They're a bogey team for us, bit like you guys. We never seem to beat you guys. Millwall or the other bogey team, we scraped a 1-1 draw, but they were terrible. And you just think, how on earth are they up there? But then again, I think a lot of people say that about us as well.
Millwall were very good against us. But I think that was just down to us being really, really poor. They picked up every mistake we made. It was always picked up on. Their defender Kramer, he was really, really impressive.
Yeah,
and nothing got past them. And on their second goal, as soon as that ball went through, you just know that's a goal. No one's stopping that. We're done. And it was a really, really disappointing day at Vicarage Road. But yeah, they were a good side, and I definitely think they've got a massive chance of going up if they continue on an up trajectory.
Yeah, I think we just caught them on a bad day, but they're physical. I mean, we're quite similar to them in how they play. Physical, well organized, not particularly flashy. And I think that style of football seems to be bringing a lot of results for a lot of teams. A lot of the sides like Swansea, who we played at the weekend, a lot of possession, a lot of sideways and backwards, but not really having any cutting edge. And yeah, we were lucky to scrape a draw against Millwall when we played them, and we've got them away soon, actually, so that'll be a pleasure.
Yeah. Now, moving on, then I'm going to get Caden and George's predicted lineups for Watford before I get to mine. So we'll start with George. Then I'll bring that up onto screen. George, take us through it.
Okay, so in goal, I will start Egil Selvik just because it's our number one goalkeeper at this point. But I have thought of a couple last minute changes, to be honest. So as my two centre halves, I'll play Matty Pollock and Stefan Mfuni because Pollock's just been solid. There's not much he can do wrong. At right back, I will play James Banquer, but if Jeremy Ngakia is back and fit, I'll bring him back into the squad. And on the left, I will play Mark Bowler because I think he was just had a bit of a rest day on Saturday. And as for my two defensive midfielders, I will start Nampalys Mendy and Imran Louza because they're both just very good players and they're the only two that we have really got for that position. And in the 10 position, I will start Edo Kayembe because he did score a brace against Derby last time. On the wings, I'll start Otman Marma and Georgi Shakvadatsi just because they're that bit of flair. Oh no, sorry. One of the other changes I made was to bring in Quadro Bar for Georgi Chakvadatsi because as we saw on Saturday, he was just absolutely electric when he came on. And up top, I will start Luca Kierangard as he is the only viable option that we do have.
Yeah, I do think it was a weird decision when I saw Still play Chakvatadze on the right. I was really, really confused when he doesn't even work that well on the left. He's not a 10, so that was weird. But anyway, moving on to Caden's XI, I know there'll be probably a lot of changes from this one, Caden, because I can see by your facial expressions you don't really like the look of this one.
No, well, first of all, it's got Edo Kayembe in the side. No, thank you. In goal, has to be Selvik. My back line, going for what we've seen previously, I'll go Ngakia at right back, James Banquer, Matty Pollock, and Mark Bowler. Into the midfield, Nampalys Mendy, Imran Louza, self-explanatory. And with Bove. Now, people may think, starting Bove very, very early, let's chance it. What's the worst that can happen? Because at all costs, I'm avoiding Kayembe being in this starting 11 at all costs because, unfortunately, that man is useless, very, very weak, and doesn't belong in the Championship. Send him to League One. Maybe he'll do well in League One, but certainly not for Watford. So I would start Bove even if he's half fit. Into the attack, it has to be Marma with Bar. And George, you're going to disagree with me, but it has to be Mamadou Doumbia up front. Luka Kierango is very, very lazy. He can hold the ball up a couple of times, but apart from that, he's useless. He didn't even get credited for his goal on Saturday. That went down as the keeper's own goal. So I would go with Doumbia. For Derby fans who are watching this, I wouldn't say Doumbia is necessarily the goal scorer, but he does everything else so well. He's quite quick. He drifts out to the wing at some points. He'll hold the ball up. He'll play a Hail Mary ball and it'll work. His work rate is off the charts compared to Kierango. While his goals aren't up to the stature of LK9 yet, Doumbia can get there. He just needs to find his shooting boots. But everything else he's got. So yeah, that's my starting lineup against Derby.
Yeah, thank you for that, Caden. Now, moving into my starting 11 then. This was a tough choice for me to make. Now, I've gone with a 4-3-3 formation because I like playing wingers. I really do. I really think they're influential. Now, in goal, self-explanatory, as me and Caden say every week, Egil Selvik. Baxter's not cut out for this level, I don't think. So, yeah, it has to be Egil Selvik. Now, the centre-back pairing, now this is going to come as a surprise for people, especially Watford fans, because Foremost Mendy has not played much this season whatsoever. However, when he came onto the pitch against Preston, I thought that he was really, really bright. So I was really, really impressed by him. So that's why I've picked Mendy to partner Pollock. And Chris, as you saw against yourselves in the reverse fixture, Pollock was really, really, really good for us, despite conceding 2 goals.
Yeah, agree.
In the right back position, then, if Jeremy Ngakia is still injured, I'll go for James Abankwah. I really like James Abankwah. I think he should be playing more as a centre back, but then wing back, he does these forward runs, so that sort of works out for him. And at left back, I struggle to drop Mfuni out of this team because I really think that he's been really influential for us when he's been playing in the centre back role, but also he was pretty good at the weekend in left back, I think. So I would play him at left back. Now, central midfield, Caden, you're going to disagree with me because there's a certain someone in the midfield, but I think that Edo Kayembe will start because I think given that he scored 2 against Derby last time out, I think that it'd be silly not to play him, but I do think that, again, for reasons, he has to start. I think Bove's not ready to start, so we've got no other option really to play him because I don't think Pierre Equard's ready yet at all, so that's a bit of a slight issue. Now, again, alongside him, Nampalius Mendy, a player that we didn't see that much of. However, in recent games, I think he's been really consistent for us, and I do think that he deserves to start alongside Loser. When Bove's back, then maybe bring Bove into the midfield or play midfield too, as you said, Caden, with Bove and Loser. In the attack, then, I've gone for Othman Mama on the left, as we saw at the weekend. However, he does normally play on the right, but because of Bar being on the right, I do think that Mama is a good option on the left because I think he's quality wherever he plays and he can cut inside that easily on the left-hand side. And it was a good finish at the weekend, I thought, and he come back into form. And then up top, Caden, I do agree with you. I think it's got to be Doumbia. I like Kiram Gard, but we need to play Dumbia's strengths if we're going to play him. I said it this week. We need to put not cross into the box and play balls in behind instead of cross into the box because that's Kiram Gard's style. That's headers, like, as you said with Ajiman, aerial presence. So we need to play balls in behind instead of playing cross into the box because well, it doesn't suit Dumbia's style. But as you said, your reserve goalkeeper, he's vulnerable from crosses. So maybe it's an idea to play Kiram Gard there, which might well hinder him and give us an opportunity to get goals in the back of the net. But yeah. Now that concludes my starting 11. And before we go, I'm going to get everyone's score predictions. So I'll start with our guest, Chris. What do you think the score is going to be this weekend?
Oh, trying to predict anything in this league is almost impossible. It's all over the place, isn't it? But I'm going to sit on the fence. We're going to come and camp out in defence. We'll take a 1-1 draw.
Do you have any goal scorers?
I would suspect it would be Adjaman again, given he's pretty much the only guy that can score for us. Although Brewster's got 3 and 3, but I'm going for an Adjaman from a cross, as usual, back post from a Joe Ward cross, as usual, and then you'll probably get one because Vickers will drop a cross, won't come for it, and we'll hold on for a 1-1.
George, I'll go to you next. Score predictions?
I say a 2-0 win with both Moroccans to score. Dima Magaro.
Caden, score predictions?
Well, this will come to no shock to Watford fans listening. I think we're going to lose. Derby 3, Watford 0. Adjaman on the score sheet. Brewster on the score sheet, and Brereton Diaz. As much as I want to go into the game with confidence, if we're going to be playing the likes of Kayembe, then we have no chance. Because, as Chris has stated, some of the players that Derby have are rough and tough and like the hustle and bustle. Whereas Kayembe is weak, as I have said 400 times. So if Kayembe plays, you will win 3-0 comfortably because all it takes is a cut through into the midfield, lose Kayembe because Luz is somewhere else and with poor Nampalius Mendy stuck. Lose Kayembe and you'll score a goal and you'll be fine and you'll win 3-0 comfortably.
Now, Caden, I'm going to disagree with you. I am going to go for a 1-0 Watford win. I think we're going to be good defensively. I think Pollock's going to do really well to mark Adjaman, and I do think we're going to keep you at bay. And Caden, I'm going to go for Kayembe to score against Derby again. He's going to score an absolute from outside the box. Obviously, got that good header against Derby, which got us the win. It was a very good corner, and we don't score from corners, so that was really a sight to see.
Yeah, don't ask me how we conceded a goal in injury time against the smallest man on the pitch, but we'll paper over that. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, well, a very big thank you to Chris for joining us this week. Now, before we go, Caden, obviously, plans changing with the podcast. We're hosting an unfiltered show on X every Thursday at 8 p.m. I'm moving to pre-recorded content, so I'm going to let you tell us a bit more about that before we end the video.
Yeah, so for those that haven't seen what we're doing now, so we're going to move to pre-recorded content for our main episodes. We will do one Spaces a week called the Hornet Talk Podcast Unfiltered, and that is all the public requests that you would do on a main episode, but you're getting your own dedicated episode. And you're also going to get the same pre-recorded YouTube previews like we've done today. And then there's a couple more things that are on the way. So just keep an eye on our social pages, stay up to date with all things the Hornet Talk, and we will try and bring you the best content that we can.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Caden. As I said, a big thank you to Chris for joining us from the Rams Talk podcast. I'll leave a link in the description to all the social platforms. Please follow them. Thank you for joining us. You owns!